I'll be building a shed right here in the backyard. This will be a larger shed with a 340 square foot footprint and will include a spacious loft for lots of storage space above or just a cool hangout for the kids. But before I get to the fun part, there's a lot of prep work that needs to be done first. In this video, I will walk you through the excavation process, rerouting some of the irrigation lines, and finally digging the holes for the concrete piers that will support the shed. So let's get started. First things first, I marked out the rough area where the shed will go and started by removing the sod. This step can be simplified by using equipment designed for this purpose, but I opted to do this whole project after work most days and all by hand. My biggest issue was disposing of all the sod and dirt that I would be excavating. There was going to be a lot of it, and I don't really have anywhere to store it. I rented a container so could get as much as possible out initially, hoping I could get at least all the sod hauled away, and whatever didn't fit would go into a large pile. That'll be a headache for another day. Although this dumpster is massive and could probably fit everything that I needed to excavate, I was only allowed to fill up 50% of it with dirt because it would have been too heavy for the truck to haul away. Now that the sod was removed, I had a general idea of how much soil I would need to excavate to get level ground. Although this was a lot of hard work, I was very happy that the soil was not too hard. I knew from the start of the project that I would need to not only move irrigation lines, but also move the main valve location and box. I have two of these boxes for my yard. I'm not sure why these two had to be in two different locations. The second box is found not that far away from the first. I'm just wondering why wasn't this all set up right next to one another, which is what I'll be doing after I get all the lines excavated. At this point, the dumpster was full and my pile of dirt has been growing steadily, but luckily I'm just finishing up excavation and can haul away the soil after my shed is complete. Now we move back to the irrigation lines. Of course, these irrigation lines did complicate the project for me. Not only did I need to locate them, but also manage to find a new home for them where they wouldn't be in the way of a future project. Now that all the lines are uncovered, I need to reroute them along the foundation of my house and further away from where the shed would be. I want to be sure I still have easy access to any irrigation lines. I also capped off any lines that would no longer be used. When it came to some of the irrigation lines, I was pretty surprised how shallow they were buried, some sections being just a few inches deep. When I rerouted them, I made sure to get them at least a foot into the ground. I also taped the ends of each line to mark them so there would be no confusion when it comes to connecting everything back up. After I got all the lines buried again, I made a few adjustments in my soil grade and moved on to marking out locations for the concrete pier foundation. In total, I would have 17 concrete piers that would be 3 feet deep and 12 inches wide. I also plan to have the piers extend past the soil another 6 inches to allow for ventilation beneath the shed. As an amateur DIYer, running the string line was definitely the hardest part for me because it's of course the most important step, making sure I get the foundation set perfectly and square as well as level from one end to the other. I'm sure there probably is an easier and better way of doing this, but this was what I came up with, and in the end it got me the results I was after. So I ran the string line around and adjusted it until I got it perfectly level, and I even made sure of this by using a 360-degree laser level to check my work. I've never been too trusting of those string line spirit levels. Now, I double checked to make sure everything was square and lined up good. Before digging the holes for the foundation, I marked out where the floor joists would go, so when placing the location of my concrete piers, they wouldn't interfere with the floor joists 16-inch on center spacing. When digging the holes for the foundation, I used post diggers, and the first foot was fairly easy, but after that it was basically hard clay, which really tested my will to continue doing this manually. I was debating if I should go get an auger, but wasn't sure how well it would do in the soil either. So after many hours, I was finally done with digging. I added a few inches of gravel to the bottom of each hole and used a 4x6 to compact it down a bit. And now let's move on to setting my irrigation box that I removed earlier. Like I said before, I have two of these boxes, so I thought I would set this one right next to the other one. In the next video, I'll be working on pouring the foundation and building the floor of the shed. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, you can help me out by hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with my DIY shed project. See you next time.